actually hooked up with a guy that I met here. He was sitting in that chair. I know. What are you doing later? He was wearing a shirt that said, ask me about my screenplay, so I asked him about a screenplay. As it turns out, he doesn't have a screenplay. So I was like, we're going home together. So we ended up going to the bar, which there's a bar down the street called T. Boyle's if you guys want to give them your business as well. So we went to this bar and we started talking and he's like, hey, like I really like Taylor Swift. And I'm like, did he look at what I look like and just assume, or is he actually like into it? And so then he starts talking about like the song All Too Well in Exile. I'm gonna nerd out on Taylor Swift for a hot second, and about how she's re-recording her masters and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, he's like a fan. Okay, so like the screenplay shirt and the Taylor Swift. This is my next husband. So we end up going back to his place, and when we get to his apartment, he's like, do you want to watch Taylor Swift music videos? Which at this point, I should have seen it as a red flag. However, Red is the best Taylor Swift album. So we start watching Taylor Swift's Bad Blood music video, and he's like, hey, do you want to make out? And I was like, sure, that's why I'm here. And he was like, well, we have to wait until the music video is over. Like, okay, fucking another red flag. Great, my favorite color. Then he asked me to go back to his room, and so when we get up and we're walking back to his room, he's like, hey, I don't want you to think I'm one of those weird guys who like doesn't have a bed frame, but I don't have a bed frame. And I was like, again, you love Taylor Swift. I don't care. It's fine, whatever. So we get back to his room, and he has like one of those weird rooms where like you have to go through the bedroom to get to the bathroom. So he goes into the bathroom, and I'm standing in his room, and I'm just like snooping, obviously, because I have to write a new Taylor Swift song for her and submit it to her and like redo this. Listen, I have fucking problems. Anyway, so I'm in his room snooping, and I see on his Spotify, on his laptop, that he does not listen to Taylor Swift. He listens to Bon Iver, which like, cool, but like, he's a liar. So then I look at his bed, and he has this magazine that's called Handjob Magazine, and at the bottom it says www.hjmag.com in case anybody wants to do any research. And then on the cover, it has a picture of an old man fucking a much younger man. And so obviously I'm like, this is a little odd, considering who buys physical porn anymore, right? Like, who buys magazines? Like, this is fucking insane. So he comes back in, and I'm like dying laughing, and I'm like, why do you have this? And he's like, oh, it's for a friend. I'm like, that's a lie. That's another lie. You and this Taylor Swift thing? Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so later we're having sex, and while we're fucking, there's like a weird lull, and so like at that point you have to say something. It's like a weird awkward silence. You can't just like hear like smacking. It's like weird. And so so I'm like thinking of what to say to him, and I'm like, I'll just say his name. That's the like go-to, right? And then I'm like, fuck, what's his name? God damn it. So then I thought back to the magazine, and on the cover of the magazine, I forgot to mention this, it said, who's daddy's little faggot? I couldn't think of anything else, guys. I'm so sorry. So I like pulled him in, and I whispered in his ear, who's daddy's little faggot? He doesn't call me back. Thank you, my name's Tate Morgan.